I think you're conflating data with profiling. We're not sharing our profiles, like a limited amount of data, which constitutes a profile that's actionable from companies, is all that they value. What you think you're relinquishing to them that holds value to them really doesn't have any value to them.
So what does have value to them? I think the companies value our data because they're able to use it to sell to us more efficiently.
Then they don't want you knowing about it. The knowing of it
I
ruins
agree
the
with
data.
that. I agree with that. I think that companies want to hold on to their power and the vast amount of information that they have on us. But I don't think I disagree with the notion that because companies want something that is the way it's going to go. Now I know it seems foolish to say that because I mean I live in California and so I'm very familiar with overbearing bureaucracy, and I can see why somebody would think that things are impossible without a large company backing the endeavor. But I fundamentally disagree because I think that crypto in general was pushed back on by the powers that be, and it still flourished because people saw value in it. So, in my opinion, if there was some sort of platform that leveraged the data that people create and empowered them to have control over it and to create financial benefits from it, I think that people would gravitate towards that to a degree that would overwhelm the legacy in word
You're making a lot of
establishment.
different point. You're making a lot of different points, and some of your points are contradicting others. Some we can agree on, right? Crypto was made because we don't accept the legacy system. But if you think that you've created some kind of private blockchain that's not true, it's all public, and companies and powers that be can scrape that blockchain in an instant and get any information and subset of information that they want on any of the users. They can target addresses, they can target demographics, they can target all sorts of wonderful things through the blockchain already. It's all public, and that's the way that it was formed because nothing should be anything but transparent. So it's not if you dispel the conspiracy theory that it was created by the powers that be, then you understand the limitations of where freedom of speech and blockchain activity resides. And that is full transparency and nobody can do anything about it.
My understanding, and I'm not a coder, and I'm by no means a blockchain expert. I mean, I do my own independent research, but my understanding is that it is possible to shield some of the information that flows through the blockchain. Although I know that sounds contradictory. It's just what I've been told by some development friends of mine. But I can see how that seems like it doesn't quite jive. Blockchain usually is it's
Well,
a open
look,
thing.
you're you're making points and applications of blockchain that just haven't yet been adopted. You're talking like I think in 2017, 2018 ICO terms, like your medical records can be on the blockchain someday and instantly being shared between all medical institutions and hospitals, and they can find out where you are and how to best serve you in case of emergency, and yet not disclose your information openly so you can stamp it and secure it and encrypt it so that only you and your doctor can get in there and all sorts of other crap. Those things have not been adopted. Blockchain right now, let's face it, cryptocurrency is the application of blockchain right now.
I agree with that, but I think that I'm trying to look forward in the future, and so I'm thinking how can we take it further than that?
Yeah.
I think
I
it's
mean,
when
yeah.
companies integrate the traditional business models. I mean, we have charities and we have federal institutions that could all run on the blockchain and be a lot more democratic. I think when society realizes that, that's when
Yeah.
it's really going to take off.
Yeah, but spreadsheets and databases work fine.
True, they work, but I mean, they work for businesses. They don't really empower people, which I feel like is the ultimate goal of the blockchain.
Well, what's going to inspire people to be empowered? We like to get rich quick, right? Not get rich quick necessarily in this community. We like to get rich slow and trustlessly. So if that's not an inspiration to pay attention to technology, I don't know what else is. But privacy really doesn't count for the greater masses. I tried to bang that drum for about 7 years of my life, and let me tell you, nobody gives a shit. Because convenience wins over all privacy aspects in your life. If you're using a phone right now, you've relinquished your privacy, period. And you wouldn't do without your cell phone. If it goes flat, you get all nervous, right? If you can't get a signal, you get all nervous because you're weaned off of the idea of privacy early, and convenience runs roughshod over that idea. And that's where the free open source intelligence gets compiled and is given to companies nearly free of charge. It has no value to you. It has great value to them in enough volume. And that comes to our first point as to why that endeavor to try to shield people from it or monetize it and give money back to the masses is absolutely not going to go anywhere.
You're saying because the data is not valuable to the mass.
If I told you that your data to you holds 1 millionth of a cent in value, but to companies in blocks of 1 million people has an average value of $14.32 to them. That's pretty much the model.
I honestly don't know the price that data goes for, but I'll just admit that right there. I do think that in the future, if we are able to leverage our data for monetary gain, it won't be something that we can sustain ourselves on. It will be very small. But I think part of the reason the data might be so cheap, and this is just a theory, that it is so easy to access and it is so easily given up. But perhaps if people were more guarded with their data and understood the value of it, maybe it would sell for a higher premium.
I don't understand why we want to sell it. Don't we want to just focus it away or opt out of giving it to people that we don't want it to go to? Why would we want to monetize it if it's a bad thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it's a bad thing that it gets used and that the people that generate it don't get to profit off of it. I don't yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. But your question is why would we sell it? Because it's worth something. And like you said, it's not worth anything to us, but if it's worth something to somebody else, I mean, why not sell it? People already giving it away for free, like you said. So why not
The
make a
net
buck off of it?
because the net value to you, if I told you, hey, relinquish or take a relinquish your important information, opt in to all these little check boxes, collect real-time data, feed it back to, let's say, Microsoft. Every click that you make will go back to their guys and it'll crunch into their database. And for that, I'll give you 75 cents. Would you think that that's low or high? What are you expecting to get from it that would make it worth your while to relinquish that data to them?
That's a very good question. And to be honest, I don't know the true market value of data if it wasn't so cheaply given out for free. But I know that water used to be given out for free, and now people pay $1 to $4 for a bottle because it's been sold correctly. So why can't we do that with the data?
When was water given out for free? I'm confused.
Probably pre-80s. I mean, you could just get water from pretty much anywhere, but nowadays everyone expects you to buy it. You ever gone to a club and try to get a cup of water? They make you pay $20 for a bottle.
Um, well, I was around pre-80s, and I'll tell you that I don't remember a free cup of water other than it that like water vending, like a water cooler drink type of dispenser that has an actual spigot on it that you push a metal button and out sprays a little stream of water and you sip from it. We don't see many of those anymore, but that was a free source of water. I think you still could find something like that if you need to.
Right, but I mean, even you kind of like saying that it's harder to find now is kind of a testament to how things that used to be very cheap or even free just get more and more expensive because companies figure out they're able to charge more for it. I mean, on every corner there used to be a phone booth that you could pay. I mean, once upon a time, 10 cents to make a phone call, then 25, and 35, and 50, and then all of a sudden they disappeared altogether. My ultimate point is that the
Yeah.
value of something changes depending on how easy it
Yeah.
is to have access.
Yeah. Look, you can make the same argument for the green car in California, right? Or sorry, the red car in California, right? You used to go from LA to San Diego for a buck 52. Um, and now you can't find that portion. There's only a piece I think from kept alive as an oddity from like Chula Vista to the Mexican border. Uh, you certainly can't catch a red car from LA to San Diego even um, for a buck 52. Doesn't exist anymore. Why? Because cars came. Everybody had a car. Freeways became a thing. Cheap and easy to get around. And California, paid for those freeways and they don't charge for them. It's a free mode of transportation. Makes sense. All you got to do is buy a car. Car companies, of course, back that. A lot of jobs to make those freeways, maintain the freeways. It's progress. I don't think you can really scoff at it. It's just the next iteration of progress.
I'm not scoffing. I'm just using it as an example that times change and the value of things change depending on how easily accessible they are, and that perhaps if data was not so freely given away, then it would become more valuable, and it might be something people will be able to leverage.
But the fallacy is that if it holds a value, it's too expensive to invest in. Therefore, they got to find another way to be able to profile, you as a consumer. And they go back to old market trends, looking at how many people bought their widgets in any specific, you know, time of year or weather or geopolitical issues. And that's the way they profile you passively. Instead of getting more insight into where you are, how often you go to the local supermarket, what aisles you go down, what you're looking at any time you're scanning an ad by, putting some kind of tracking on your phone to find out how long you actually stay on a page or watch a video or where you pause, where you stop. All these things are available for free because you already buy into it because of the convenient aspect of it. You go to YouTube all the time because you want to look at the latest videos that are of teenage girls that are looking at the best possible big capacity pencil cases that they can find on Amazon. That type of open source intelligence is readily available through YouTube back to Amazon to be able to know which ones they want to put up to those users. The top 5 little pencil cases that appeal to girls because you looked at a video at least 50 seconds into a 5-minute video and you paused on a specific brand before you clicked off of it. And now every time you go to Amazon, that comes up in your searches for products you would potentially like to look at. That's valuable, but not to you because you're just a cog in the wheel and you only represent one in a great many people, and they don't win, it doesn't pay for itself until they see returns based on a carpet bombing of those little ads that maybe 1 in 1,000 actually click on and buy that product because they see it and say, oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. How did they know? It's a numbers game.
Yeah, but they need the information to play the numbers game, don't they?
But you get paid indirectly, not in dollars, but in convenience. You get the video, the people that make the videos cater to you. You enjoyed looking at it on this thing that you think is free,
known as YouTube. You already got paid. YouTube is a thing. It's available to you. You're a sheep. You went in and you grazed.
Well, I'm not so sure the current model will survive. I think, yeah, as long as companies are getting a free meal, why would they pay? But I know it's a little bit crazy to think of in the United States, but what if they passed some legislation that protected the consumer and allowed them to leverage their data?
Again, I'm confused about. Okay, I'm really confused. If I told you that you now have legislation that protects your data as your intellectual property, what data is it that you think you have?
Where I shop, what I buy, what kind of person I am, what my tendencies are, what education I have, what things I'm pursuing.
So you're saying that every aspect that collects data in your life, actively and passively, must be approved by you to collect such data. Is that correct?
In an ideal world, yes.
And furthermore, if you opt in, you want compensation for it in dollar terms.
Yeah, or whatever the prevailing currency is.
Baba, can I
All
ask
right. Yeah, go ahead.
are you aware of an airdrop going on for the Pulsechain sacrificers?
We don't talk about third-party products and projects in here.
Well, I get it and I swap it for Hex right away, so I get some free Hex there.
Good for you, man. We don't talk about that shit here.
Okay, all right. You
You can go. You can go. You can go to. It's okay. You can go to the. There are altcoins chat, Hex altcoins chat or Pulsechain altcoins chat. Those are 2 rooms you can go into talk about that stuff. I'm glad that you swapped it for Hex. That's probably a good idea. But if you want anything,
I claim it in the next second I swap it.
well, good for you, man. I mean, hey.
I get 2,000 Hex, so I am super happy. That can become in the future $2,000 easy.
I can see your points, Papa Boner. I think that it would be a tough hill to climb up, but I do think that in the future, people will be a lot more empowered by being able to tokenize their information and to be able to control who sees it. And I think that that could result in compensation.
And I argue that it'll never be worth compensating you and your time to go and get the compensation. And the fallacy is that by observing something, it changes the result. And it's a very tried and true scientific conundrum that sometimes by observing something happening, you influence it, and therefore the data would be useless.
Okay, so
I do
but
believe
like
in
that
it.
that applies to quantum physics and the whole thing with being able to things changing by observation. It's because by observing we have to measure it, and when you measure it you have to interact with it, and on a quantum level when you interact with something you change it, and on a
It's
quantum level
also
because our
it's also psychology, right? We've all seen Star Trek before, and what do? They disguise themselves as some like proto race to be able to not tip them off that they are observing them. And once they have the conflict in the show, we always see them get into some kind of problem because they get found out to be future travelers, and the new species then, either worships them as gods or destroys themselves as a result of it. It's all microcosmic for the truth, and that is, in terms of psychology, companies want to see you at your rawest, and if you know that it's happening, you want to monetize it, they're not interested anymore.
I can see how that would apply to some information, but I don't think it matters in terms of like what vacuum cleaner I'm searching for.
So you're worried that
Situational.
they're going to find. So you're worried that someone's going to get your medical records when you are shopping for a vacuum cleaner and somehow have carte blanche access to your, having gotten a shot for syphilis back when you were in high school, and now that's out in the open for free instead of you just being able to buy your vacuum cleaner as you wish. Is that your case?
No, I'm saying that like if I were to either look for a vacuum cleaner, that would be important information to a cleaning company, and they might be willing to pay for that information. Or if I have a certain medical record, then that information, I mean, I would be able to choose to disclose or to have a medical examiner facility to have access to. I think it's two different examples of the idea of holding on to your own data and being able to choose who accesses it. Now, I do think in those two situations, one, I would have different motivations for relieving my information. Of course, I want my medical examiner to be as privy to my situation as possible. But as far as the vacuum cleaner, yeah, if you're going to try and harvest my data to sell me a vacuum cleaner, I want to cut.
And again, we come back to what cut would tickle your fancy. I would say they're going to give you 2 cents, if that.
Adds up.
I wish you the best of luck. Again, I worked for a company that dealt in OSINT for 7 years, and I'll tell you that harvesting that data comes really super cheap. The crunching of that data to establish trends is the thing that's very powerful and very valuable to companies to pay for. But OSINT will always be out there because everything is capturing your data, and there is no, in order to get the convenience of using Amazon, or Amazon Alexa, or Hey Google, Puck that's somewhere in your house listening in, or your cell phone, for example. that is taking data wholesale. Even as you sleep, it knows how much time you've actually had your screen on, how much you've set around it, what you set around it. Things are passively eavesdropping on you all the time around you. I just don't see any way to say enough's enough. You cannot have any of that data and expect to enjoy the convenience that you enjoy today. I think that you have bought into that whole plan, saying that I want utter convenience, and for that, the price of that is my privacy, and I'm willing to accept that. Guaranteed, that's what you've done. And I think as a result, your data holds a value that you've already received. It's in the eyes of the system.
I agree with all that. I think that a lot of it has to do with perception, though. Like the date, like you said, in the eyes of the system thinks that it's entitled to my data, and so it thinks everything's fine. But if I decided that my data was worth more money, maybe they would have to fork out a little bit more dollars. I mean, you said that you have been working in this realm for a while, so I would defer to that information. I would defer to you because I have not been working in that realm my whole life. But it's just an interesting idea that I had, and I thought it was worth teasing out in the group.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I used to think that like you did, until I got my arms around the entire way that the data harvesting and selling to companies really worked, and to Department of Defense, local law enforcement. It's all one and the same. On open source intelligence is collected real time every second of every day, and there's just too much data, too much white noise. So crunching that data is a way to do things. And again, I think that if you're looking to say, hey, I got this new Barker lounger because I relinquished my data, I don't think that day will ever come. But if you want to do it for, you know, political reasons or reasons that you believe you're really looking at people getting behind in terms of taking back their privacy, um, I wish you the best of luck. Those are noble ideas, but I haven't seen that trend in the last 20 years, 25 years, I should say.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to see how things shake out. I hope that it goes that way, but I can understand your arguments.
And they are just that. They are my own arguments. If something changes, I'm willing to concede to a trend suddenly changing because they can change. But I've been hoping for change and actively struggling for change, and eventually understanding the landscape a little bit better in my old age. And now I can say that maybe we fight a different battle, and cryptocurrency and taking charge of our, you know, really taking charge of our own yields through something like HEX, for example, 100% interaction with an actual smart contract that's immutable is everything that I've ever wished for, and I never even knew that I was wishing for it. So I think it answers all of our problems in terms of security, privacy, uh, you know, our data integrity, and finally our monetary freedom. I think all of that is wrapped up into this tiny little bow that we are enjoying right now in Richard Hart's product of HEX and soon to be Pulsechain. So I would look to that as our bigger battle to win.
Well, I definitely can agree with that. I'm really looking forward to the opportunities that Pulsechain has. I think it's going to sweep ETH away. I think that HEX is going to have a tremendous run once it goes viral, thanks to Pulsechain. And I'm just really excited about the idea of being able to have my time owned by me again.
Yeah, it makes you sad that you've already invested so many, minimum wage hours of your life. Where was all this when you were much younger is the question, right? Well, where has this been all my life? It makes sense.
Absolutely, that's the question. I kick myself for not. I remember back in like 2013, 2012, something like that. Bitcoin was like $300. I remember thinking to myself, man, I should I should buy some of that. But I was I was afraid of learning, to be honest. I thought it was out of my league, and so I missed that opportunity. Thank God when I came back into the fold, I discovered Hex, and that helped me get out of a bad situation. And then as soon as Pulsechain and PulseX Sacrifice came about, I went all in, and then decided to start making Pulsechain content to help push the ecosystem, which has been pretty successful. And I'm just glad that there's people that are trying to do something noble in this space. Of course, there's lots of people that are just into Hex for the money and the amazing returns, but I think that the real value of this community is in that there are so many people that genuinely just want to use this product to help free others. And there's a lot of supportive people in this community that will take newbies under their wing and show them all the different things they need to know, security practices, how to have trade, how to have stops and trades, and how to have margin calls, and to just interact with the system in a safe and responsible way. It's really it's really awesome.
Amen.
All right, Papa Boner. It's always a pleasure to converse with you. I'm going to go to bed now, but I hope you have a lovely night.
And likewise, be well. And we'll see you back in chat shortly, I guess, when you wake up. Because you can't stay away long in this chat.
I'm always around, if not on here, then in a Twitter space or obsessively checking the Hex Pulsechain Twitter algorithm. All right. Good night, friends. Good night, everyone.